everybody, welcome to Elder Geek's Elder Speak. Today is Tuesday, January 21st, 2014. My name is Randy Asenchuk. I'm the editor of ElderGeek.com. In the background today, you are going to be seeing gameplay footage from A Wizard's Lizard, a game that I've kind of gotten addicted to over the past couple of days, and I'm hoping to do a video review this week, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to get around to do a full review of it, because it's a roguelike game. It's pretty hard, and unless I finish the game, I don't call it a review. I can only really call it an impression video, so maybe I'm going to do a little bit of a more refined impression video of it later on this week. But couple of announcements that I want to make today, and then I want to get into actually a user email to answer. First announcement, and this is a big one. I want everybody to spread the word far and wide that 25 Games for My Son obviously is still underway. If you've been following us on Facebook, you've been seeing a couple of the pictures that I've been throwing up. Some of them have been a little bit more detailed than others. But just today, I was speaking with musicians Patty Rudisil and Kristen Nigas, and what we're going to be doing is Patty and Kristen are going to be composing the music for the next episode of 25 Games, the Legend of Zelda Link to the Past episode. I'm sorry, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time episode. They're going to be rearranging and they're going to be performing music from the game, and they're going to be performing it and recording it for me to use within the video, and it's going to be awesome. They're ridiculously talented musicians. I'm going to throw up some links in the description below, but I'm also going to try to throw up some links here on the side as well so you guys can check out their stuff. Go, as a thank you to them from me, please go and subscribe to their channels. They post amazing stuff. They are, like I said, they are very, very talented people, and I am ridiculously excited about this now. I mean, I was always excited about this project, and I'm still working harder and harder on it, but it's definitely going to be lighting a fire under my butt, because it's not just my own personal deadlines that I'm going to be having to meet. I'm going to be, hopefully I'm not going to be holding them back as well as we go forward with this. So again, show them some love, go to their YouTube channels, subscribe to them, follow them on Twitter. You'll probably even be seeing conversations from me and them about the series going along. So check them out, show them some support, and yeah, that's announcement one. That's a big one. Second announcement is that there's going to be another Get Off My Lawn coming, hopefully this week, maybe this weekend, depending on how much I can get done over the next couple of days. It's supposed to snow here like crazy, so I might be busy dealing with snow. But the script is done. Tonight, when I'm done doing this recording, I'm actually going to record the audio for that, and then it's just going to be a matter of compiling all the video, which takes a little bit longer than you'd think, and then animating little Randy up on screen as well. So that's second announcement, and I think that's all the real announcements for today. And what I wanted to move into from here was an email that I got over the weekend, which was a really great user email. I kind of wanted to read that and touch on that a little bit. Nick writes, "Hey Randy, this isn't so much of a question as it is looking for someone with their finger on the pulse to share this with. I've been playing games for 22 years, since the time of the Sega Genesis. After watching the industry grow, I'm seeing the industry reach a point where I can't help but see it reaching either a potential internal schism or second great industry crash. AAA titles are trying to deal with exponentially increasing costs to push graphics that tiny little bit further, while the indie market is flooded with cheap, nasty titles with the occasional diamond in the rough. The general trend just isn't sustainable, and more importantly, it's left me completely disenfranchised. Every time I see or hear about the latest and greatest, it gets a completely apathetic response from me. I've seen it before, and with the exception of games like Watch Dogs or Star Citizen, I don't enjoy the ideas of paying attention to video games. This also seems to be a similar trend that my friends in their mid to late 20s seem to share, many of whom left video games for board or card games. What do you think? Do you see the industry as a potential about to undergo a massive tectonic shift, as everything we accept and know is ripped away and turned into something else when it reaches the breaking point? Do you think a big crash from the infeasibility of the current development trends finally catching up with the developers and publishers within the next 5 years is possible or likely? And, especially in your job of reviewing, what do you do to not get bored, flip your table, and rage quit from games for good? I'd be interested in to hear what you have to say, Nick. It's kind of I want to start at the beginning of this, where just kind of talking about the age range. Mid to late 20s is also the same time where I kind of stopped playing games for a little bit. I had moved away from where I went to school. I found a home in the DC area, and I had like no money at the time. I was living in crappy apartments, and you know, gaming was and still is kind of expensive, so that was like kind of the first thing to hit the chopping block. Well, actually, no, cable was always the first thing to hit the chopping block, and gaming was probably the last thing to hit the chopping block. But anyway, gaming kind of died down for me in the PS2 era. I kind of slowed down, and I sometimes wonder if it's an age thing. I wonder if it's a mentally you tell yourself like, I've grown out of this, but maybe you haven't. Maybe you just need a couple of good games to kind of renew your faith. The game that really brought me back into gaming hard was probably City of Heroes, because most of the stuff that came out on the PS2 era I didn't enjoy. I did not like Final Fantasy X. I thought it was a terrible Final Fantasy game. I know a lot of people love it, and I'm not saying that people that like Final Fantasy X have poor taste in games. I just thought that it didn't hold a candle to 1 through 9. And I realized that 10 was a lot of like people's entryway into it. I also felt like a lot of the PS2 era games, with the exception of like Shadow of the Colossus, Eco, and you know, what else kind of came out in that time? Resident Evil 4 was huge at the time too. A lot of the other JRPGs that came out then didn't really do it for me. Xenosaga did, but like I said, I kind of wonder if it's an age range thing, because, you know, once I kind of got over that, I came back into gaming in a big way. But you also do touch on a pretty important topic that we are right now in the middle of a gigantic shift in gaming as to where we're going. It is getting too expensive for AAA developers out there to kind of continue as they're going, but at the same time, the games that put in a ton of money are still making a ton of money as well if they're hitting the right market. I mean, right now we just saw Grand Theft Auto 5 become the largest media release, or the most successful media release of all time. I think they made $3 billion or something within the first 3 days. I don't have the number in front of me, but they were the fastest selling piece of media of all time. I mean, they blew away the Avengers, they blew away Black Ops 2. So there is still a market for big games, but I think that market needs to be reached in the right way. I can't think of a better way to say it, you know, right now. It's, you know, the big markets right now are obviously mobile gaming, and by mobile I mean like portable gaming as well, so not necessarily on your phone. So portable gaming is a huge market right now, and I think AAA games are a huge market right now. And then there's the indie game market. The problem that we have right now is something that happens similarly with Hollywood, where the middle ground, the sweet middle ground, has been completely removed within video games. And in the 80s and 90s, that's where most of the really good games kind of came from, and that's where our AAA developers are now. Most of the games that we loved in the 80s and 90s did not come from huge developers. I mean, they are our current day huge developers, but back then they weren't. I mean, I think we are in a transitional phase. I think that developers, big AAA developers, are exploring putting money into smaller development studios. And I think that those are paying off pretty big. I think you should look into, let me look up the title of the game. What I was saying was I think that bigger developers are seeing a lot of success by putting money into smaller studios and seeing what happens with them. A prime example would be with Microsoft Game Studios publishing Clay Studios' work. So Mark of the Ninja, Don't Starve, and then they've got another one that's coming out that just looks absolutely remarkable. Or it's a tactical turn-based game. But you know, Ubisoft has Child of Light coming out as well. So I think this is going to be a trend that we're going to be seeing a lot of. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of big developers testing the waters with smaller development teams to see how the results are. I think that Mark of the Ninja did remarkably well. I think that's what's going to happen. I think that in the next 5 years, we're going to be seeing indie developers create better products. The people who are making the good indie games now are going to be making even better indie games in the next 5 years, and that's where we're going to be hopefully finding our sweet middles. Hopefully these indie developers are going to for lack of a better way to put it, I hope that they mature and try to blossom into a slightly bigger studio, but retain their quality standards. I would love it. I would love to see, you know, Ed McMillan and Tommy from Team Meat maybe bring on a couple of people and create something bigger than the games that they're making. There is absolutely nothing wrong with Super Meat Boy. There is absolutely nothing wrong with Binding of Isaac. They are wonderful games. I mean, but they're so good that so many people want to play them, and I think that if a team that was led by a mind like Edmund McMillan, we would be seeing a lot more good quality stuff. But I think that developers like him need to step out a little bit of their comfort zone and start, you know, guiding people underneath them to create more products faster. Who knows? Maybe that would be the absolutely wrong idea. Maybe that is, you know, maybe that would be terrible for them. Maybe they need to work as a small team to kind of feel like they're being creative. Their creative outlet is being reached. So I don't know. Hopefully that kind of thing will turn around. I do think that there's a lot of small dev teams out there that are gonna create some good things. I mean, we're also starting to see Kickstarter stuff coming through as well right now. A lot of people were really scared as to how the Kickstarter birthed games would be, and I think the Banner Saga was an exceptional game. I think some of the other Kickstarter games that have been coming forward have been passing people's expectations, because these games don't need to go through the massive corporate, okay, this will definitely make us money, checkbox kind of thing. I think that we're going into scary territory right now with early access games. I'm not a fan of early access programs. I think it's fine for the most part. I think it's okay, but I think that we run into a big problem with early access programs where there's no accountability held for these developers for how long they can stay within early access. Because right now, if I play an early access game, the best I can do is just say, hey, this is just a preview because there's things that are coming out and here's these bugs that they know about. But what good does that do for the consumer? But at the same time, on the opposite side of that coin is consumers are paying money for this. So if they're paying $20 and $30, in some cases $50, why can't I hold these games accountable for the mistakes that they make? Why can't I call out bugs on this? I mean, if people are paying money, I mean, it's not... People need to know about the problems that are going to be coming up with these games, and it's not like the developers themselves are going to be like, oh yeah, hey, the game is pretty much only 50% done, but if you want to give us some of your money, that's great. You know, that transparency isn't there yet. And maybe they can't be transparent. Maybe they you know, they can't see the trees because they're standing in the middle of the woods, kind of thing, or however the hell that saying goes. Anyway, so yeah, I totally get you with a lot of indie games coming out. The rise in popularity of indie games within the past 5 years, I think, exceeded a lot of people's expectations, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Clearly, the cream is going to rise to the top most of the time. I mean, sometimes the games that get seen are the ones that are the most popular, not necessarily the best ones. And being game developers first, and coders first, and designers first, I don't think a lot of indie devs out there are really great at PR. So the ones that are good at both PR for themselves and also good at art and design and code are kind of the rare exception to the bunch. Anyway, yeah, the industry is definitely going through a massive tectonic shift. With Nintendo Wii U's recent shift in their stock value, there's a lot of people that think that Nintendo's dead in the water. I don't think they're dead in the water. I do think they can still turn it around. They need to make the right moves. They need to make them fast. I don't know if that results in creating a new console, because I think before they create new hardware, I think they need to repair the breach that they've caused between them and their fans. I think the Wii U's failure was not only a failure in marketing, but I think that they lost a lot of their core fans. I think that when they kept promising that they weren't going to be seeing a slow, staggered release window of games, and then that's exactly what gamers got. I think that they lost a lot of clout with their fans. So that's that. As far as retaining my interest in games, oh my goodness, this video is going long. In terms of retaining my interest in games, I love gaming. I always have. I probably always will. I mean, I say that, but then I fell out of love with them for about 2 or 3 years in my mid-20s. But again, that might have been because of money reasons. But I don't know. Games always seem to be more entertaining to me than, say, television. Very few TV shows interest me. I can see why people would go to board gaming. I can definitely see why. I mean, check out books and stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot of great sci-fi and fantasy coming out now too. But I also recommend this, and this is kind of funny for me saying this because this would basically tell you to stop watching my videos or stop watching YouTube videos. But I think that I think a lot of disinterest comes from being too informed in gaming news. I find myself sometimes not wishing I knew as much about X, Y, and Z. Sometimes it's better to just surprise yourself, to go and try a game you've never heard of before and give it a shot, and to hell with whatever critic X, Y, or Z says about the game, and to hell with what people's fan base is about a game. Just try it for yourself and see how you like it. And a lot of times that's what cures it for me. I keep my finger on the pulse, but at the same time, I also try to not get swept up too much in the way that people are going. It doesn't always work, of course, but I don't know. Some games get a lot of harsher backlash than they deserve, and some games get a lot more praise than they deserve. And I think that taking your finger off of the pulse for a little bit can actually cure the gaming malaise for you. But yeah, I hope that answers your question. I feel like I might have rambled a little bit in there, but anyway, I hope, dude, that things pick up for you. I hope that I hope that you don't fall too much out of gaming. I do know several people who have completely fallen out of love with gaming. Some people who actually used to make videos for Elder Geek a long time ago. Elliot, he just completely fell out of love with it, and I think it might have been because he was just playing too many games and reviewing them here. For me, I enjoy all aspects of it. I like playing the games. I actually like putting the video together. For me, it's a good creative outlet for me to actually write something, and then the feedback I always get from you guys is invigorating. So I've got that going for me. Not everybody has that going for me. I'm very fortunate in that regard. So. But anyway, I hope that answered your question. Like I said, another Get Off My Lawn coming later on this week. I think that it might actually touch a little bit on this subject, even though the script was written before I got this email. But maybe it might actually help you out a little bit with your gaming malaise, for lack of a better word. But thanks everybody for watching and listening. Thanks for tuning in for this long. And again, go check out Patty and Kristen's stuff. Please show them some linkage and show them some likes and give them some new subscribers. And let's get excited about the next episode of 25 Games for My Son, because at this point, based on how I feel about it and based on how they feel about it, I think this is probably going to be the best one. And like I said, my goal is to get 3 of these done this year, and I can do this. I know I can. Thanks, everybody. I'll talk to you soon.